We had good relations with China for a long time. It was literally just once the Cold War ended and we can no longer use the Soviet Union as a foreign enemy to justify our military expansion, we needed a new superpower that we could blame. So we pointed to China. That's it.
So we're just gonna forget about the Korean War. I guess if you say something wrong enough with enough confidence, it's enough for your audience to flood my comments section with empty arguments. This is Aaron with BS Tracker, and I'm gonna show you what's really going on. China is building a massive underground military command center near Beijing. It's estimated to be 10 times the size of the Pentagon. Satellite imagery is showing rapid construction with deep bunkers and tunnels. US officials believe that it's meant to serve as a hardened wartime headquarters, possibly in preparation for conflict over Taiwan. China has not officially confirmed its purpose. Conservatives argue for peace through strength. They believe that a weak US response only invites aggression, and that China is testing American resolve. Taiwan is next, just like Russia invaded Ukraine. They see this as a sign China is preparing to strike soon. Biden is soft. They claim weak leadership and mixed foreign policy have emboldened Beijing. We need deterrence now. That means building up Indo-Pacific bases, missile defenses, and US naval power before it's too late. Democrats counter with a different view. They say don't repeat Iraq. They warn against overreacting, reminding us that we've misjudged foreign threats before. China may be posturing. The new bunker might be defensive, not a signal for war. And escalating could become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Focus on alliances. Working with Japan, South Korea, and regional partners is smarter than chest thumping. War helps no one. Even if China is acting aggressively, a full-scale conflict would be catastrophic for everyone. For bias and framing, he gets a score of 3 out of 10. Vaush repeatedly frames US concern over China as irrational, motivated by fear, racism, or imperialism, while ignoring legitimate strategic motives shared across both parties. He portrays China as rational and defensive, while casting US analysts as hysterical or malicious. There is no room in his argument for the idea that China's military buildup might reasonably look threatening to anyone outside of his ideological bubble. For emotional manipulation, he gets a score of 4 out of 10. Vaush heavily relies on sarcasm and mockery, especially when brushing off satellite evidence and US intelligence assessments. He uses emotion to frame criticism of China as bigotry without offering any meaningful rebuttals. Even when he admits China is expansionist, he pivots right back to ridiculing anyone who treats that as serious. For omission of key context, he gets a score of 3 out of 10. He leaves out China's track record of military aggression toward Taiwan in the South China Sea and beyond. He also skips over historic US-China tensions, including the Korean War and pre-2000 flashpoints. There's no mention of China's own modernization timeline or the PLA's stated readiness goal of 2027, context that matters. For misleading or leading questions, he gets a score of 3 out of 10. Vaush leans into rhetorical questions that shut down critical thinking, like, why wouldn't they have bunkers, instead of exploring what they mean. He oversimplifies, mocks, and dodges rather than addressing real concerns. His questions lead the audience toward predetermined conclusions without engaging the facts seriously. For intentional dishonesty, he gets a 5 out of 10. He implies the US invented this threat, yet he offers no counter evidence to support that claim. His assertion that China wouldn't provoke war because of their ancient legacy ignores how history is often used to justify violence. He does admit China is expansionist, which keeps this from being a total fabrication, but just barely. For rhetorical integrity, he gets a score of 4 out of 10. Vaush jumps between mockery and sincerity, making it hard to track what he actually believes. He claims to acknowledge Chinese aggression, but then mocks nearly every US reaction to it. Style takes priority over substance, which undermines any consistency in his argument. For source transparency, he gets a score of 2 out of 10. Vaush reacts to videos on stream but rarely cites where the information is coming from, or whether it's even credible. When outlets like Business Insider or Financial Times are mentioned, he just waves them off with lines like, I don't trust them, and never offers a better source. And for major claims about history, foreign policy, or military intelligence, there are no primary documents, no citations, just vague assertions. You're left to take his word for it. For use of evidence, he gets a score of 3 out of 10. He leans on vague historical generalizations to dismiss serious reports about the new Chinese command center. He ignores scale, timing, and military strategy, preferring jokes over documentation. When he does bring up real-world facts, they're barely explored. The straw man risk is a 3 out of 10. He argues as if critics think China just discovered bunkers, something no serious analyst believes. He treats all concern as equivalent to warmongering, ignoring the nuance of real deterrence policy. This misrepresents both mainstream analysis and bipartisan defense perspectives. Terminology exaggeration, he gets a score of 4 out of 10. Vaush throws terms out like psychotic, fascist, and racist as blunt instruments against opposing views. He labels standard military strategy as paranoid without providing a measured counterproposal. The exaggeration weakens even the valid points he occasionally makes. In summary, Vaush critiques Western media and political reactions to Chinese military expansion, arguing that they're driven by racism and paranoia. While he acknowledges that China is expansionist, he downplays legitimate strategic concerns and rewrites key historical context to fit a dismissive narrative. His emotional delivery, sarcastic tone, and weak sourcing undercut any valid points, resulting in an argument that sounds bold but lacks substance. The absence of nuance makes it feel like more of a rejection of US foreign policy than a serious engagement with China's growing military threat. The final argument honesty rating was a 3.7 out of 10. I get that some supporters will say Vaush is just a streamer, not a political analyst, but when you spend all day analyzing politics, that line gets blurred. If it's built on weak sources or distorted arguments, it can suppress critical thinking, even if the delivery feels casual or entertaining. This has been Aaron with BS Tracker, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have anything to add, let me know in the comments below. As some of you have already seen, I'm definitely not averse to arguing with even the most negative comments. Have a good one.